What in the world is happening to the pre-loved luxury market right now? Now, you might not know this, but back in 2018, I actually founded Handbagholic as a reseller business. So I was buying and selling luxury bags on eBay, for example. Fast forward a few years and I decided to make this business a fully content business. But even though I'm not a reseller now, it is a market that I have been following very closely for many, many years now because I used to be part of it. And what we are witnessing right now feels like a huge shift in the market. Here's what you need to know. So first of all, we need to look at the resale market prior to the pandemic. And it very much felt like a place where you could buy a luxury designer bag or a luxury piece and pick up a bargain. It was like treasure hunting. And it also felt like people were willing to wait for a bag to come onto the resale market, literally to make a saving. Let's fast forward to the pandemic. So 2020, when the pandemic hit, and the story is very different when it comes to the resale market. You know what happened, you know the story. We were all at home and quite a lot of people actually had excess cash throughout the pandemic because we weren't going anywhere, we weren't traveling, we weren't eating out, we weren't having experiences. So with that extra cash, certain people like myself would take some of that money and buy some dream pieces. And this combination of having this spare cash with nothing to do, it literally became that when the delivery driver would come and deliver one of these new pieces, it would maybe be the highlight, it would definitely be the highlight of my day, my week, possibly my month, and maybe even my year. And this, as a consequence of the pandemic, sent the pre-loved resale market through the roof like I have never seen before. Prior to the pandemic, again, you would maybe get a few key pieces that resellers would be able to get above retail for. These were often like limited edition collections. The Louis Vuitton limited edition collections did really well. In 2019, we had the jungle prints that did really well. We had the catagram print, I think that was 2019, from Louis Vuitton. These collections would sell out straight away. And if you wanted to get your hands on one of these pieces, you would pay a premium at a reseller. But fast forward into 2020 and a few years beyond that, it has felt like it's not just the limited edition pieces you're paying a premium for, but basically any nice designer bag, especially when it comes to Hermes, Chanel, and Louis Vuitton. It's very much come across and felt like it's not just the really limited edition, exclusive, beautiful pieces from certain brands that are at a premium. It's literally been the case that even just a nice Chanel bag, relatively nice colorway, nice option, you will be paying retail or more than retail for these pieces. And it feels like this has been the case for quite a few years now, ever since the pandemic. Now, of course, during the pandemic, we couldn't actually get into stores physically. We couldn't go into Chanel, Louis Vuitton, and to try and get a sales associate working at one of these stores to message you back sometimes felt like pulling teeth. The fact that you couldn't get these items as readily available as usual as well also meant that people with the extra cash were willing to pay a premium to get their hands on something because they weren't able to actually get it directly from store. But we are a few years post-pandemic now, and it very much feels like the luxury resale market is slowing down. This is actually really exciting. Let me share with you why. I believe there are kind of two big factors playing up to this, why the frenzy is now dying down. And the first factor is I think luxury brands are kind of exhausting the market a little bit. Do you agree with me here? But just to kind of share my experience, throughout the pandemic, I was buying my dream Chanel bags, my trendy, my boy bags, my business affinity, for example. So I have those classic pieces and there's only so many. I mean, I have Handbagholic, this content platform, so I generally have more bags than I would ever advise anyone to actually have because you have to store them, you have to insure them, you have to keep them clean. You want to make sure you're using them so you're getting your money's worth. And there comes a point where unless you are a hardcore collector of something and you know you are literally buying it to collect and it is likely to just sit on a shelf and you're okay with that, for the vast majority of people, there becomes a limit as to how many bags you would actually need. Now, because I've covered all my classic bases from Chanel, or the bags that I really, really wanted, as much as I like Chanel bags, I like the brand, I like going into the store and seeing like the latest bags, I don't feel the need to buy the seasonal pieces as much as I like them. And it does make me wonder, we have these big luxury brands churning out all these collections all the time and new bags. And of course, there's a huge market for it, but there does really come a point where it kind of just feels like you reach a point of exhaustion. There's obviously a lot of people on YouTube talking about how luxury is dead, how luxury YouTube is dead. That's a topic that I might come onto in a totally separate video. And the obvious second reason is that the pandemic bubble is bursting. People are spending more money on experiences, on travel, on eating out, on family, and other things because we can now leave our homes. But this time round, when it comes to the pre-loved market, I think there is an added bonus. This is a change that I have seen massively over the last decade, and that is that it's probably safer than ever to buy pre-loved luxury. Stay with me, I know there's a lot of horror stories out there. In terms of reputable resellers with physical stores and locations, with proper business models, investments, authenticators that are maybe more properly and professionally trained than they ever have been, I would actually say I feel safer buying luxury now from some of these big resellers that, you know, if I ever had an issue, I could physically go into a store and see someone, or I could contact them and maybe they've got a guarantee, for example. I can use things like PayPal and my credit card for additional protection. And that teamed with the luxury market effectively possibly dying down a little bit right now. And we've even seen luxury brands reducing their prices. So I did a video on this recently. Saint Laurent have just reduced the price of some of their very popular bags, the Lulu and the Envelope. I will link to that video down below if you want to go and check it out after this one. With the price decreases, this is going to further crunch the pre-loved market. Hermes is a really interesting brand as well, that throughout the pandemic we have seen the popularity kind of skyrocket. The fact that you can't get your hands on the Kelly bag and the Birkin bag from the brand has really driven the resale market. I remember maybe 5 years ago, barely any reseller would be talking about Hermes. It was all about Louis Vuitton and Chanel. Now, I just get emails all the time, the latest Hermes bags that they have just got stocked in. And it's because when you can't get your hands on a piece and they feel more limited, the resellers can charge massively above what they actually retail for in store. So I think this is also why we've seen a lot of resellers focus a lot more on Hermes. They are trying to source more Hermes pieces because they can get much higher profit margins than, say, a vintage Louis Vuitton or Fendi bag. Now, there are certain designer bags that I definitely look for on the pre-loved market because you can make some really crazy savings. I'm going to be sharing those 7 with you in a second, but I have quite a few pre-loved pieces in my collection that I have saved a lot of money on by buying pre-loved. Some of those, my Louis Vuitton Capucine, the Stardust in the BB size. I picked this up for, I think it was about £2,500. Retail price of this in Louis Vuitton, like a BB size, I believe they are now about £5,500 to £6,000. And this was one of the like limited edition special editions because it has the pearl inlay. I got my Hermes Kelly pre-loved, and I got my other Louis Vuitton Capucine a few months ago now. This is the Murano handle, inspired by the glass blowing in Murano in Italy. And this is the jasmine pink version. I paid just under £3,000 for this. Again, this would retail £5,500, £6,000. So I got these, I would say at half price, if not less than half price, by shopping pre-loved. Now, I know what everyone's going to say next, and that is when it comes to the pre-loved market, the obvious elephant in the room is authenticity. When you buy an item, how do you know that it's authentic? And this is another area that I'm actually really excited about because authentication services have definitely become infinitely better in the last few years than they ever have been before. So if you buy a pre-loved designer bag, my absolute non-negotiable is you have to get it authenticated by a third-party authentication service. And I would like to say a huge thank you to Legit Grails for sponsoring this part of today's video because they are a fantastic authentication service. They authenticate over 250 brands, and not just bags, they also authenticate things like clothing, shoes, and many other types of designer items. Now, to show you how easy authenticating a pre-loved piece is, I'm going to get an authentication certificate from Legit Grails for my Louis Vuitton Capucine. Let's walk through the process together here. So you can launch the web app and then you can select which brand you would like authenticating. You can then select your service. These are so affordable. So you can get your result for $25 in 24 hours. Now, this is crucial when buying anything pre-loved because you are going to want to know as fast as possible if there are any issues. You then have to upload some images and they tell you exactly what they need photographs of. Let me take a few pictures here. Now, Legit Grails use a combination of AI and human authentication to achieve a 99.3% level of accuracy. If you're asking me, that is pretty high. And then you will receive your authenticity certificate. This is fantastic as well because if you do decide to sell this piece on yourself one day, you then have a certificate that you can send with the item, which adds value to it. This is definitely one of the most affordable authentication options on the market right now with a super high level of accuracy. It is an absolute no-brainer. And Legit Grails have kindly created a discount code for all us handbagholics who love the pre-loved market and going on a treasure hunt. The code is going to get you 15% off. I will flash it on the screen down below. It is handbag15, so enter this at the checkout. You're going to get this additional discount on your authentication documents. But more importantly, peace of mind that your pre-loved piece is authentic. So now that we have more reputable resellers in the pre-loved market and services like Legit Grails, I am feeling, for the first time in years, really excited to start shopping pre-loved again. The 7 bags that I would look at pre-loved as opposed to buying brand new. Of course, the Louis Vuitton Capucine, you can make huge savings on this. Louis Vuitton have hiked the price of this bag up so much over the last few years. There are some absolute corkers out there like this one that I got for just over £2,000. Like, that is a wild saving on retail. Another one is the Chanel boy bag. I bought all my boy bags pre-loved. And I do feel like the boy bag is one of those that I think is going to have a resurgence at some point. The third bag that I would buy pre-loved definitely is the Chanel Classic Flap. I don't have a Classic Flap in my collection. If I do ever add one, I know I will not be paying retail for a Classic Flap. It would definitely be on the resale market, and I know I'd make a huge saving. To follow on from that, the Chanel 19 is a bag that's been really popular from Chanel. A lot of them were bought during lockdown because it was launched in 2019 and it kind of didn't pick up momentum until 2020. We are now seeing quite a few of the Chanel 19 bags being sold. It's a very practical bag from Chanel, but it can get a bit heavy with the chains. I do have my large one behind me here. I did recently sell my small one, and I can tell you I sold that at about just over £1,000 less than what they currently retail at. So there are some nice savings to be had on the Chanel 19. The Fendi Peekaboo. Let me grab mine. I have the medium Peekaboo here. You're not going to believe the price of this. So a Fendi Peekaboo medium size like this is going to retail at thousands from Fendi. I picked this up from Designer Exchange and it actually retailed, I believe, at £790 pre-loved. £790 for a bag that would cost thousands from the store. The Lady Dior is another one. It's a bag that's been around for a long time. There are a lot on the resale market, big savings to be had. And the Dior saddle bag, again, one that's been around for a while, so there are lots on the resale market for fantastic prices. 4 things you are going to want to check before you buy anything pre-loved, just in my experience. The first one is condition, of course, checking corners, general areas that wear and tear. Just check that you're happy with that level of wear. If you can see a bag in person, I would highly recommend. Accessories, does it come with everything? For example, if it usually comes with a strap, has it got its strap with it still? Number 3, odors. If you are buying and you aren't able to go and see the item, just check to see if it's from a smoke-free home. Check to see how it's been stored, for example. Some bags that might have been like chucked away somewhere might have got a bit of damp or been near mold. And number 4, packaging and documents. Has it got its box? Has it got its receipt? If not, has it got an authentication certificate from Legit Grails? Now, I know I'm really excited about the pre-loved market based on what is happening right now. Let me know, have you ever bought a luxury item, a designer bag, for example, pre-loved before? Now, make sure you don't go anywhere because coming up next, the 7 best and worst bags that I think you can buy right now and why. Enjoy.